For decades, there's been one dominant story about what depression is. But in this explainer, we're going to look at the science that's absolutely dismantling that old myth and revealing a much more hopeful reality.
You've heard it a million times, right? Depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain, a simple lack of serotonin. It's this neat, tidy explanation that's been the go-to for doctors, patients, and the media for more than 30 years.
But what if that whole foundation has basically crumbled? What if the actual science tells a completely different, more complex story? Well, that's what we're here to unpack. And the answer is literally rewriting our entire understanding of mental health.
Okay, first up, the verdict on serotonin. We're going to put that whole chemical imbalance theory, its official name is the monoamine hypothesis, right under the microscope.
So, the monoamine hypothesis. It's really just a scientific term for the chemical imbalance theory. The big idea is that a shortage of neurotransmitters, especially serotonin, is what causes depression. And this single idea, well, it's the foundation for some of the most prescribed psychiatric drugs in the entire world.
And here's the bombshell. A huge review in 2022 published in the journal Molecular Psychiatry sifted through decades of research. And what did they find? They found, and I'm quoting here, no convincing evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin. The central pillar of the whole chemical imbalance theory, it just doesn't hold up.
But the evidence doesn't stop there. A more recent review by Zeller and DuPont identified 5 key biological pathways that are consistently linked to depression. So you might ask, how many of those involve serotonin? The answer is 0. Not a single one.
So if antidepressants aren't really correcting a chemical imbalance, what is their actual effect? Well, if you look at data from the FDA, on a 52-point depression scale, these drugs provide, on average, a 1.8-point advantage over a placebo, a sugar pill. That's a difference so small it doesn't even meet the threshold to be considered clinically significant. This chart really puts that into perspective. Effect size is just a way to measure how much an intervention actually works. And as you can see, the effect size for antidepressants is, well, it's pretty modest. Now look at exercise. Its effect is more than double. And a Mediterranean diet, we're talking nearly 4 times the impact. Now, this doesn't mean medication is useless, but it clearly shows that other interventions can be far, far more powerful.
So if depression isn't just a serotonin problem, then what is it? The new science tells a truly fascinating story. Our bodies are basically keeping a molecular score of our lives.
So these are the 5 biological pathways that consistently show up in depression, according to that Zeller and DuPont review. It's not about a single chemical, you see. It's about a whole network of systems. Things like inflammation, how our cells produce energy, how our brains grow and adapt, how our genes get switched on and off, and even the basic life cycle of our brain cells.
And here is the most profound insight of all. Our environment, things like chronic stress, our diet, our sleep, trauma, it shapes every single one of these biological pathways. The changes we see in the body of someone with depression, it isn't a random disease signature, it's a biographical signature. Your body is literally keeping score of what's happened to you.
This new understanding gives us a whole new map for treatment. This table shows exactly how each of those biological pathways connects to specific life experiences and to evidence-based interventions. So for instance, neuroinflammation, it's often driven by stress and diet. And what helps? Exercise and an anti-inflammatory diet. You see, this isn't just theory anymore, it's an actionable roadmap.
And this brings us to a pretty radical idea. Interventions that we used to think of as soft, like therapy and exercise, they aren't soft at all. They are powerful biological interventions.
The big takeaway here is absolutely revolutionary. That old divide between biological treatments like pills and psychological treatments like therapy, it's just gone. This new evidence shows they both act on the very same biology. The wall between them just dissolves.
And no, this is not a metaphor. It's a scientific fact. Talk therapy creates measurable physical changes in your gene expression. It's literally rewriting the biological instructions that were laid down by adversity. Therapy is, without a doubt, a biological intervention.
And let's look at exercise again through this new lens. It's not just a lifestyle tip, right? It's a powerful medical intervention. And it's so effective because it's a multi-tool. It targets at least 3 of the 5 core pathways of depression all at once. It's an anti-inflammatory, it recharges our cellular batteries, and it promotes new brain growth. It's a powerhouse.
So, this new biology demands a lot more than just new treatments. It actually demands a whole new way of thinking and a new set of fundamental questions. And this slide just illustrates that shift perfectly. The old paradigm, the one based on the chemical imbalance myth, it asks, what's wrong with you? Which usually leads to a diagnostic label. But the new paradigm, the one grounded in this real biology, it asks a profoundly different question. What happened to you? It seeks to understand the life story that is literally written into a person's cells.
And data like this really highlights the urgency for this shift. A major UK review found that even with a massive increase in antidepressant prescriptions over the last 30 years, the prevalence of mental health conditions has actually gone up. That's a huge paradox, and it tells us the old model is failing on a massive scale.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from all of this? It's actually an incredibly empowering one. Your biology is not your destiny, it's your history. And since your environment and experiences write that history, you have the power to write the next chapter through things like therapy, exercise, nutrition, and connection.
So we'll end on this thought. The science is now clear. The molecules have confirmed what so many have long suspected. Our bodies record our experiences. The new map has been drawn. The real question that remains is, how quickly can our healthcare systems, our training, and our culture learn to actually read it?